Hello everyone, welcome back. So in part 1 I waffled on about bike racks and lack of payload versus the job these caravans are supposed to do, and entirely ridiculous bunk widths. And when I did find payload, I also found eye-watering prices. So far we've seen 2 British, 1 German and 1 French van. So next we're going to look at 3 German vans, and we'll start off with this Knaus Sport 400 LK. This is the silver edition. It's got a 599cm exterior length, and internally that means it's 4 meters, and a payload of 330 kilograms. Hurrah! All that within an MTPLM of 1300 kilos. And hurrah! You can see why I like German vans, because the bunks are 198 centimeters long by 76 on the bottom and a more conventional 62 on the top, so not too shabby at all. In this 400 model there are actually 2 layout options within the same shell: the LK, which is this one with the double dinette which turns into rear bunks, or the QD, which has a fixed front double and a rear side dinette, and I think it's possible to get an option of a bunk over that dinette as well. And that would give quite a large bed at the bottom and a much smaller one over the top, perhaps more for occasional use. And that's very common in continental vans, different layouts within the same body shell. In this one the rear bunks are 76 or 62 centimeters wide, as I said, so a space for a big one on the bottom and a little one, a smaller one on the top, although having said that they're fractionally wider than UK bunks anyway. This won't come out on the film very well, but it feels really solid in here, other than this bathroom cupboard door, which really doesn't feel like I would expect on a German caravan door to feel. It just needs a bit of a soft close or a little bit of a latch on it to really improve that, because the wood, whatever the solid surface is here, is very lightweight, so that makes it feel a little bit cheap if it doesn't have those extra features fitted to it. It is though much darker than the really spacious and light and airy Discovery and Basecamps that we've just come from. I have to say though that lightweight particle board, it does feel a lot more solid in here than any of the other units we've come from, other than, as I mentioned, that little bathroom cabinet door, which could really do with a much stronger hinge or a soft close on it to make it commensurate with how solid the rest of this caravan feels. These lights are also very clever. They look like they can be moved anywhere along these rails. Of course, as is normal in German vans, you get less mod cons. Here, for example, though, there is a small, looks like a cooker and grill. So in our experience though, this would be just perfect, I think. You don't need lots and lots of different ovens and grills and so on. The inline 3-burner hob also is really clever because it gives plenty of prep space in front, which is sadly lacking in ours. So next we'll go into the very similar Cara One by Weinsberg. This is also a 400 LK, and you can have it as, I think, a 2 bunk or a 3 rear bunk option, although I did overhear somebody saying there were 3 different layouts available, so perhaps it's a rear dinette or 2 bunks or 3 bunks. I can't find the rear dinette on the website though, so let's assume it's just 2 bunks or 3 bunks. And these are really great bunks. I mean, these are proper bunks. They're 77 centimeters wide. 77, that's huge. Remember, UK caravan bunks are typically 60 centimeters wide, and a proper domestic single bed is 90 centimeters. So these are what would be classed as a small single, so a small domestic single. So assuming they'll take the weight, and they really look like they would actually, they could take teenagers or even adults. Will be happy in here, assuming of course they can get in. The head height's a little bit restricted with 3 back here. but having looked up some pictures online, two look pretty spacious actually, so I think that will be fine for even adults, as I said. As is normal for continental vans, if you're buying from new, there are loads of different options to choose from, many of which we would consider standard on UK caravans though. So this might include spare wheels, and even 12-volt systems can be considered optional on continental vans. It just depends whether there's a specialist dealership within the UK that brings these things in as standard on the UK models. So options can include upgraded chassis, potentially adding an extra 250 kilos to the already generous 220 kilos payload in this case, but because so many of these things are optional, the weights of those aren't added into the MIRO figures, so the payloads can appear actually far more generous than they actually are. So make sure if you're comparing to a potential purchase of a UK van, you're comparing like with like. Anyway, because of the different way of handling options, this is an incredibly well worked out process, so all the price lists include an options list, and all of those options lists clearly state what the extra weight you're adding is. So that then makes it really easy to work out before you consider placing an order. And my advice, based on our experience, would be if your car and your driving license can handle it, then go for the beefiest chassis you possibly can. That doesn't mean you have to take any extra stuff, it just means you'll need to worry less about being overweight than you would have to with a caravan with a small payload. Here We Tow did a fantastic episode on weights and weigh bridges and so on, and made a bit of a shocking discovery about their Adria, so I will link to that above, and I'd suggest you check it out. It's a really great video, really helpful, and raising awareness about weight issues that we need to think about. Anyway, so other options include upholstery colours. Most of the time there are usually 2 or possibly 3 standard colours that you can choose from, and another couple of extra colour combos that you pay extra for, and it really helps to personalise things and to make them yours, so that's really great. You choose the shell you want, you should choose the colour scheme that works for you. Brilliant to have so many options. Again, the quality feels brilliant in here. Personally, I prefer the ambience of the Knaus Sport. The use of the white and cream cupboards and the silver and the grey upholstery really gave it a lovely classy feel, but still keeping it lovely and cosy. So it's really nice, but then it's a couple of grand more, and the bunks aren't fixed and they're not of quite the same size. So, you know, it depends what works for you and your family. Have I given you the specs for this one yet? No, I don't think I have. So in that case, it's 591 centimeters long externally and 400 centimeters internally, so exactly the same as the last one basically. It has an unladen weight, but remember what I said about options and continental vans, of 850 kilograms and an MTPLM of 1100 kilograms. And if I'm reading the options list correctly, this can be increased all the way up to 1350 kilograms on the same chassis, because it's built on a 1350 kilogram chassis anyway. And on both this Weinsberg and the Knaus, the A-frames are long enough to fit bike racks. Though, like us, you'll need one that pivots forward so that you can get to the gas locker. And you need to be very, very careful about the nose weight that you're putting on if you're loading with a full set of bikes and gas and so on. Okay, so for the last one I want to pick out is the Knaus Sport and Fun, of course. This particular one has the dimpled aluminium sidewalls, which us Brits seem to be allergic to, but our continental chums really like. I guess it certainly shows little marks and scratches, and maybe even dirt a bit less, so perhaps we should embrace it. But anyway, this is the normal version on show here, but there is an uber sexy, can you say that about a caravan? Anyway, there's a nice smooth-walled black edition. Andrew Ditton gave a fantastic tour of it when he was in Dusseldorf last. I've no idea if he was in his signature leather trousers that day to match up with the Sport and Fun. It did seem rather warm. But anyway, I'll link to his great tour here. So this thing is so practical, it's fantastic, except if you have more than one child. Although my youngest has just suggested, thankfully off camera, that his big brother would have far too much space if we shoved him in the garage. He spent most of the day so far looking for separate but tiny sleeping areas for his poor, ever-suffering brother. Anyway, moving on, back to caravans. I have oodles of storage space. They're super practical with a door on the side and another one on the back, and a massive garage door on both sides to access that huge space under the front double bed. The washroom is tiny until you need a shower, which frankly, if you're on a site with facilities, isn't that often. And it's got this pull-out tray and a curtain that goes around to make that facility possible. It's also got a pretty good wardrobe and kitchen storage. And the only downside for me, other than perhaps not having enough beds, depending on how big your family is that the fixed front double is right under the very stylish but very cramped sloping front wall. So you might find that the person stuck on the inside of that next to the wall might feel a bit claustrophobic and hemmed in. I know I used to feel a bit that way on the wall side of our folding camper. This front bed is 143 centimeters at the head end, narrowing to 125 at the cutout for the door, and the central sofa makes up into a 192 centimeter long bed, which is 121 at one end, narrowing to 99. So palatial for one person, bit too cramped to realistically call it a 4-berth though, even with kids sharing the top big bed. The payload on this one is 170 kilograms. That comes from an MIRO of 1130 kilos and an MTPLM of 1300. Again, you can specify a beefier chassis, either a 1500 kilogram one, which you can have plated at either 1400 or 1500 kilos. Because it's a beefier chassis, it adds an extra 15 kilos of weight though. Or you can even have a 1700 kilo chassis, which adds 25 kilograms in weight and can be plated at either 1600 or 1700. So, quick bit of maths, hang on. Increasing to a 1700 kilo chassis will give you 400 plus 170 minus 25, so 545 kilos of payload, assuming you didn't add any other options, of course, like a height adjustable fixed front bed, which weighs in an extra 10 kilos. With this sort of payload though, you can realistically think about the optional motorbike and floor lashing points and transport your pride and joy in funky style. So these are now on the super space age super lightweight Alco chassis. So I should mention that the list price for this starts at £18,920. So super punky and super practical. And on that note, that brings us to a close. Thanks so much for sticking with it. I hope my waffling on about the practicalities of family caravanning in small spaces have been helpful, or at least not insanely boring. Hopefully not for you to have made it this far. Maybe I'll have to give out prizes. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and bye for now.